The plane seat felt hard under me. My fingers were shaking as I opened my phone. I typed into our family chat. The same chat where we used to share funny pictures and talk about dinner plans. Flight lands at 3 p.m. Can someone get me? Simple words. Normal words. But nothing about this week was normal. I had just said goodbye to Marcus forever. My husband. The man who made me laugh every single day. He died helping people in another country. Hero, they called him. They gave me a flag. They played music. They saluted. And now I was flying home with that flag on my lap, and I just needed someone, anyone, to be there when I landed. Just one person to hug me and say it would be okay. My phone buzzed before the plane even started moving fast. It was Jake, my brother. 3 words. We're busy. Uber. Etzel. Like I asked him to pick up groceries or something small. Then Mom wrote back too. You should have told us earlier. We have plans. I read it again. And again. My hands felt cold. My chest felt tight. These were the people who knew me my whole life. They knew Marcus died. They knew I was alone. And they said no. They said I should have planned better. Like you can plan when your heart breaks. I looked out the window at the clouds. They looked soft and white, but I felt hard and gray inside. So I typed back just 2 words. No worries. Then I turned off my phone. When the plane touched the ground, I didn't feel relief. I felt empty. Everyone around me grabbed their bags and rushed to see their families. I walked slowly. 1 foot, then the other. Through the long hallway. Past the bathrooms. Past the shops selling candy and magazines. I reached the big area where everyone waits. Families hugging. Kids running. Balloons floating. And me alone, holding a folded flag in a wooden box. But then I saw them. 4 people in uniform. Straight backs. Serious faces. They weren't my family. They were Marcus's friends from the service. They had flown back on a different plane. We've got you, one of them whispered. A woman with kind eyes. And right there, surrounded by soldiers, I started to cry. Side cameras were flashing. I didn't know why at first. Then I saw the news van. A reporter with a microphone. She didn't come close, didn't push. She just watched as the uniformed soldiers walked me to a black car. One of them opened the door. Another saluted. Felt important. Felt big. Before I got in, I handed something to the soldier with kind eyes. Small envelope. Inside was a note I wrote on the plane. Short and simple. When the people you love forget you exist, remember the ones who never knew you but still showed up. The reporter saw me hand it over. Her camera caught it. And that moment, that one quiet moment, became the thing that changed everything. That night, I sat in my dark apartment. Alone. The flag box on the table. I didn't turn on the TV. Didn't check my phone. Just sat there in the quiet. But across the city, in houses with warm lights and full dinner plates, my family was watching the evening news. And there I was. On the screen. Walking out of the airport with 4 soldiers around me like armor. The reporter's voice was calm but strong. A young widow returned home today after burying her husband. Her family didn't show up. But these heroes did. Then they showed my note. My words. Big and clear on the screen. The reporter said my initials. Everyone who knew me knew exactly who it was. And in that moment, in kitchens and living rooms all over town, phones dropped. Forks fell. Mouths hung open. The family chat stayed quiet for 2 whole days. Nobody typed a word. Not sorry. Not congratulations. Not even an emoji. Just nothing. But my phone wasn't quiet. Strangers were messaging me. People I never met saying they cried watching the news. Other women whose husbands died said they felt the same way. That their families didn't understand either. That coming home hurt more than the funeral did. My sister-in-law finally sent a private message. That was you on TV, right? She added a nervous face emoji. I didn't write back. I didn't owe her anything. Then I saw my mom posted an old picture. Me and Jake as kids at the beach, building a sandcastle. She wrote, "Family is forever." Got 50 likes. But the first comment said, "Then why didn't you pick her up?" And 20 people agreed with it. Jake tried next. One message. Didn't know it was that big of a deal. You could have said it was serious. I laughed. Actually laughed out loud in my empty apartment. As if burying your husband isn't serious. As if crying alone on a plane isn't serious. As if needing your family isn't automatically serious. I thought about writing something long. Something angry. Something that would make him feel as bad as I felt. But then I realized something. He already felt bad. Not because he cared. 'Cause everyone was watching. So I just wrote, I did say it. You didn't listen. And that was it. No more messages. The news station called me again. They wanted to interview me for a longer story. A real sit-down talk where I could explain everything. And you know what? Said yes. The interview room was small. Just me, a chair, a camera, and a man with a notebook. He asked gentle questions. What happened when you landed? How did you feel? What do you want people to know? I told him everything. How I sent a simple text asking for help. How my own brother said to take Uber like I was bothering him. How my mom acted like I did something wrong. How I sat on that plane feeling more alone than I ever had. But then I said the most important part. Blood doesn't make you family. Showing up does. The man nodded. The camera kept recording. And when it aired 3 days later, the whole city watched. 6 minutes of me talking. No background music. No fancy editing. Just truth. And people felt it. Messages poured in. Hundreds of them. From soldiers. From widows. From anyone who ever felt forgotten. Mom left the group chat without saying anything. One day she was there, the next day she wasn't. Jake changed the chat name from Family Forever, with hearts, to just Group. That's when I knew it hit them. Not guilt exactly. Shame. Because now their friends knew. Their neighbors knew. Everyone saw what they did. Or more importantly, what they didn't do. I didn't feel happy about it. I didn't feel victorious. I just felt tired. Tired of wishing they were different. Tired of hoping they'd wake up and be the people I needed. So I archived the chat. Deleted it from my main screen. Not out of anger. Out of peace. Because sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is stop expecting water from an empty well. This wasn't revenge. It was just me finally choosing myself. Letters started coming. Real paper letters in my mailbox. One said, "My son died overseas. Nobody understood. Thank you for speaking." Another said, "I felt so alone until I saw you on TV. Now I know I'm not crazy." A veterans group shared my interview on their page. A military spouse community sent flowers. Then someone organized something I never expected. Candle ceremony. For Marcus. For me. For everyone who came home to silence. I almost didn't go. Felt too big, too public. But I went. Stood in the back with my hood up, watching. 50 people holding candles. Singing softly. A teenage girl with a shaky voice sang a song about carrying people home. I bit my lip hard to stop from crying. Then I saw him. Standing far away under a tree. Watching. Not participating. Just watching. He texted me the next morning. No hello. Just, didn't think it would become this big. I stared at those words for a long time. Thinking about what to say. Thinking about whether to say anything at all. Finally I wrote back. Pain is always big to the person feeling it. You just weren't paying attention. He didn't respond. And that was okay. This story stopped being about them a long time ago. It became about all the others. The people in my messages saying, "Me too." The widows saying, "I felt that." The daughters and sons and sisters and brothers who got left at airports and hospitals and funerals by people who were supposed to love them. They needed to hear that it wasn't their fault. That they deserved better. That dignity isn't something you beg for. Something you build when everyone else walks away. 3 weeks after the interview aired, I did something I never planned. I started an organization. Not a big fancy thing with offices and logos. Just a simple idea with a clear name. The Landing Project. What we do is simple. We pick people up. Military families coming home to empty airports. We meet them. We hug them. We carry their bags. We drive them home. We make sure nobody lands alone. Ever. I posted about it online. Within 2 days, 40 people volunteered. Someone donated a van. Someone else offered free meals. A local hotel gave us discounted rooms for families who needed to stay overnight. By the end of the first month, we'd helped 12 families. 12 people who didn't have to walk through the airport crying by themselves. And every single time I thought about that day I landed. That moment nobody came. Photos from our pickup started spreading online. One showed me hugging a young woman holding a flag just like I did. Her face was buried in my shoulder. The picture went everywhere. News articles, blogs, social media. And that's when my phone rang with a number I recognized. I let it ring. She left a voicemail. Her voice was shaky, broken. I didn't know what to do. I thought you wanted space. I'm sorry. I listened to it twice. Then I deleted it. Not because I'm cruel, but because some apologies come too late. They come after the world is watching. After it's embarrassing not to say sorry. But where was sorry when I needed it? Where was sorry when I was alone on that plane? She didn't apologize because she felt bad. She apologized because she looked bad. And that's not the same thing. Jake sent something too. A donation receipt. $25 to the landing project. Anonymous, but I knew. The transaction ID had his initials. I didn't thank him. Didn't reply. Because this wasn't about money. It wasn't about making them feel better. This was about creating something real. Something lasting. A place where people who hurt like I hurt could find hands reaching out instead of backs turning away. The project grew fast. Other cities asked how to start their own chapters. Podcast interviewed me. A magazine ran a story with the headline, "When Family Fails, Strangers Stepped Up." And every time someone asked me how it started, I smiled and told the truth. I sent a text asking for a ride. And nobody came. So I built a place where everyone gets picked up. They called it a movement. The newspaper put my story on the front page. There was a big photo of me at the airport holding a sign that said, "You're not alone anymore." Next to me was another widow, younger than me, tears streaming down her face but smiling. The headline read, "From Abandoned to Advocate, How One Woman Changed Homecomings Forever." That morning I got a text from an unknown number. Just a screenshot of the article. No words. I knew the number. It was my mother's new one. That evening I spoke at a memorial event. Not because I wanted attention, but because someone asked me to share Marcus's story. To remind people why this mattered. I stood at the front, microphone in hand, and told them about my husband. His laugh. His kindness. The way he always said, "Don't let the hard days win." After I finished speaking, a woman in a blue dress approached me. She was crying. "My daughter was on your very first pickup. You saved her life. She was going to hurt herself that night. But you were there." We held each other and cried. Behind her near the parking lot I saw them again. Mom and Jake. Standing together. Not talking to anyone. Just standing there. Watching me. Watching the crowd clap. Watching strangers hug me and thank me. I didn't wave. Didn't smile. Didn't acknowledge them at all. Because some lessons aren't taught with words. They're taught by showing people what they lost. By letting them see the love they could have had if they'd just shown up. They watched me surrounded by community. By purpose. By people who chose me. And they stood on the outside. Where they put themselves. I used to think healing meant hearing someone say sorry. That closure was a conversation. A moment where the people who hurt you finally understand and fix it. But it didn't happen that way. Healing came quietly. One night while I was packing care bags in my kitchen, folding shirts, adding snacks and handwritten notes for a widow I'd never met but would pick up the next morning. The house was calm. No group chat notifications. No waiting for text. No wondering if they'd finally care. Because I didn't need them to anymore. The doorbell rang. A volunteer dropping off supplies. A young couple, both former military. She hugged me tight. "You changed everything for us," she said. And I realized something. I'd found my people. Not by blood. By choice. I never responded to my mom's voicemail. Never thanked Jake for his donation. Never reopened that family group chat. Because some bridges aren't meant to be rebuilt. They're meant to be left behind so you can build better ones somewhere else. And that's exactly what I did. Person by person. Pickup by pickup. Hug by hug. I built something that my family never gave me. Place to belong. People ask me now if I regret posting that note. If I regret letting the world see what happened. And I always say no. Because my pain had a purpose. It woke people up. It made them look at their own families and ask, would I show up? And for the people who wouldn't, it made them think twice. That's not revenge. That's accountability. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply tell the truth. The organization grew beyond anything I imagined. We expanded to 6 cities. Trained over 200 volunteers. Built partnerships with airlines and hotels. Created a 24-hour hotline so nobody would ever land without knowing someone cared. We started a scholarship fund for kids who lost parents in service. A support group for siblings. A mentorship program pairing new widows with ones who'd walked the path before. The landing project wasn't just pickups anymore. It was family. Kind you choose. The kind that doesn't disappear when things get hard. A journalist called it a quiet revolution. She wrote, "One woman turned her worst day into a lifeline for thousands. When people asked how I did it, I always told them the same thing. I didn't do it. We did. All of us who knew what it felt like to be forgotten. We just decided nobody else should feel that way." I was invited to speak at a big military event. Hundreds of people. Flags everywhere. Families holding pictures of loved ones they lost. I stood at the microphone and shared Marcus's story. Not with anger. Not with bitterness. Just with love. I told them about his smile. His letters. The way he used to call me from across the world just to hear my voice. And then I told them what he said to me once. If something happens to me, don't let the sadness win. Build something beautiful from it. So I did. When I finished talking, the crowd stood up. Clapping. Some crying. Some saluting. I stepped off the stage and a woman touched my arm. She was older, wearing pearls. "My granddaughter was at your first airport pickup. You gave her hope when we couldn't." I squeezed her hand. And then I saw them. Mom and Jake. Standing in the back row. They hadn't announced they were coming. Just showed up. Quietly. Watching. I didn't go to them. Didn't wave them over. I just let them stand there. Watching me accept hugs from strangers. Watching people thank me. Watching a community celebrate something they could have been part of but chose not to be. Because sometimes consequences aren't loud. They're quiet. They're standing in the back of a room watching life go on without you. Watching someone you hurt become someone you don't recognize anymore. Someone stronger. Someone who doesn't need you. That's not cruelty. That's just reality. After the event, I got in my car and drove home. Alone. But not lonely. Because my phone was full of messages from people who mattered. People who showed up. People who chose love over convenience. And that night, for the first time in months, I slept deeply. Peacefully. Not because I got revenge. But because I got free. I used to believe closure meant someone finally saying the right words. The apology you deserved. The explanation that made sense. But closure doesn't come from other people. Comes from you. It came for me one afternoon while packing another care package. Folding another shirt. Writing another note to someone I'd never met. The house was quiet. Warm. Sunlight coming through the window. And I realized something. I didn't need them anymore. Not their apology. Not their approval. Not their presence. I had built a life without them. Good life. A meaningful life. And they were welcome to watch from a distance. But they'd never be part of it again. Not because I was punishing them. But because I finally understood. You can't make people be who you need them to be. You can only decide who you'll be without them. The doorbell rang. Another volunteer. A man this time older, wearing a veteran's hat. He handed me a box of supplies and smiled. My wife passed 2 years ago. Nobody helped me. I want to help others. We talked for an hour, shared stories, laughed, cried. And when he left, I sat on my couch and looked around my small apartment. Pictures of Marcus on the wall. Letters from people we'd helped on the table. Calendar full of pickups and events. This was my life now. Not the one I planned. Not the one I dreamed of. But a good one. Full one. A life built on showing up. And that's what I'll tell the next person who asks how to survive when your family lets you down. You survive by becoming what they weren't. You survive by building new tables when the old ones have no room for you. I never replied to my mom's voicemail. Never thanked my brother's donation. Never asked them why. Because some questions don't have good answers. And some people don't change just because you need them to. But here's what I know now. When they see my name in the newspaper, when they hear about the landing project, when their friends mention the woman who helps military families, they'll think of that day, that text, that moment they said no, and they'll realize something. I didn't need them to survive. I just needed to survive them. And that's exactly what I did. Not with anger, not with bitterness, but with purpose, with community, with love that I gave to others because I couldn't get it from them. So if you're reading this, if you're the one who got left behind, who got forgotten, who sent the text nobody answered, hear me. You're not too much. You're not asking for too much. You deserve to be picked up. And if they won't do it, find the ones who will. Build your own landing project. Create your own family. And when they finally realize what they lost, you'll already be flying.